Welcome to the DQS New Auditor Onboarding Training. In this part of the presentation, we're going to review DQS's procedures and quality manual. DQS's documented quality system is composed of directives, procedures, and forms. Corporate directives are called CD, and they're also corporate forms. Local procedures, Q- and local forms, QF, also reside as part of the quality system. And finally, we have process turtles for DQS's major processes. All of this documentation is available on the intranet. I've already showed you this, and now we're going to look at it live on the intranet site. So we go to this red button where it says Quality Manual, press it, takes you to the quality manual. Of course, I've compressed the screen so we can see it in this view. These are all the things that have been recently updated, so if you wanted to see the recent changes. If you want to see corporate documents, you can hit this. This is the manual type. I've already expanded it. These are all the CDs. They also have the CFs under that same tab. So later in this presentation, we're going to talk about CF62. You'd scroll down and you would find it. Below, click that one off. Below that, you'd have the procedures, the local procedures. They're under this tab, procedures. They all start with a Q. There's some that you're going to be very near and dear to, this Q0900-5. When we talk about auditing in a future presentation, that's a major procedure. Local forms are in this tab called Forms. So if you watched the Candidate Auditor Path presentation, you saw the AIT forms. They're available here. So you would scroll down and you would find QF 1807. Hope no one's getting sick from all the scrolling. There it is, 1807-1, ISO 9001-2008, Auditor and Training. If you're doing to the 2015 standard, there's one. If you're doing in 14,000, there's one. But you get the idea. Everything you need in terms of directives, procedures, and forms is available through this red button. The most critical documents, and these are ones you need to read while you're on the Candidate Auditor Path, are Q0300-1 Contract Review. It has all the information about man-day calculation. We're going to expose you to that in a future presentation, reductions, corporate schemes, and site sampling. I mentioned Q0900-5. This is about how we do audits, how we issue action requests or nonconformances, responses to those, and requirements by types of audits. Site sampling, Q0307-4. These are the auditor development procedures, the directive CD04 and the procedure 1800-1. When I talked about the Candidate Auditor Path, all of that information came from these two documents. And then Q0907-30 scope writing. These are the rules for writing a scope of registration. You need to download these, read these, ask questions, and learn to love them. In terms of forms, we already talked about the AIT form, Q1807-2 for the QM15 standard, or the 1815 series. Again, you need to download these and they go audit to audit. QF62 is the auditor competency form. That's how we justify that you're competent in an industry. I'm going to show you one of these in the next slide. QF65 is the auditor experience sheet. We talked about that on the Candidate Auditor Path. If we're fast tracking you based on previous audit experience, you need to complete this or have an audit log. And QF60 is your auditor personnel file. This is like a mini CV. You need to give us this before you qualify as an auditor. It's part of your qualification package, so if we don't have it, we cannot qualify you. While you are going through auditor qualification, you need to complete the CF62 for your competency. Competency is based on EA code, which is an industry code. It used to be called Standard Industrial Classification, SIC code. Now we've moved away from SIC and over to EA. There are separate justifications for separate programs. So for example, EA12 is chemical. If you are justified under QMS, ISO 9000 for EA12, that does not mean you have it if you are an EMS auditor. It's a separate justification for EMS. I'm going to show you an example of this form. Okay, this is one that was filled out for me. You have the EA code you're applying for. You have the SIC codes, some date information, important parts, justify your experience here, say what you did. A lot of this is talking about the processes. You'll find this form is a little bit repetitive. Once you fill out the first one, it gets much easier. And lastly, on this form, get it back to where it needs to be. The second page, you need to fill in what you know of the different processes. When you are doing this form, focus heavily on processes. So here it talks about involved with development and process qualification, including casting, NC machinery, stamping, welding, bending, and polishing. So those are processes that are pertinent to a 17.1 or SIC 3.4 justification. Focus on that. That makes for successful approvals of CF62s. When you complete these forms, they go to your BLM. Your BLM is the approval authority, except for critical EA codes. So for example, 12, EA12 is chemical. That's considered a critical code. You will still send it to your BLM. They will find somebody who has the code and is a competency verifier who can approve it. Some of these codes require additional testing. So for example, EA12, there's a test on basics of chemistry that's associated with it. Again, I've spent a lot of time talking about EA codes. We cannot schedule you for audits once you qualify if you do not have any EA codes. So as you are going through the auditor qualification process, it's a good time to complete these forms and get them in so that they can be added to our scheduling system. Okay, with that, we've completed our section on the DQS procedures in the quality manual. I thank you for your attention.